I am going to show you my favorite piriformis stretch. So my husband has generously agreed to be my subject for this. And we're going to start just by feeling around for tight spots up here. And he does have a couple of tight spots in his quadratus lumborum. And he's also got a few tight spots here in the piriformis. So the way we're going to start this stretch is to bend his knee to about 90 degrees. And I'm going to start just with a stretch of the quadriceps and hip flexors. So with my hand right here behind his knee, and I'm really straddling all of the hamstrings tendons there with my hand and pressing downward gently so his leg is stabilized. I'm just going to bend that knee a little further. Now we can't overbend the knee because my hand is in the way. And this should give him a really nice stretch into the quadriceps and into the hip flexors. As you'll remember, the rectus femoris is actually a hip flexor as well as one of the quadriceps. We just hold this for a couple of seconds and then gently let it go. And then the next thing we're going to do is slide one hand under this knee, keeping his leg at about 90 degrees at the knee. And then we're going to find a spot right in between gallbladder 30 and Huanzhong, more or less in the piriformis muscle. And we're going to rest the elbow of the opposite hand, in this case it's my left, right into that point. And that is going to stabilize the pelvis for the next step here. And then with that knee as close to 90 degrees as possible, given that sometimes when you're working on a bigger person, your arm's not quite long enough and you have to bend a little further, but we want to keep this as close to 90 degrees as possible for knee safety. We're going to grab the back of the calf for stability. Now, if I were on a table, this would be really easy to just shift my weight and rock. I'm going to be a little bit contorted working on the floor here in my living room. But basically what we want to do next is extend the leg out from the knee, which gives a nice stretch in the hip. And then we're simply going to rock, lifting the knee off the table. Hold it for a couple of seconds. Sometimes the piriformis fires and it feels like the muscle's fighting back. If that's happening, just back off a little bit and release. And I like to do this a couple of times. It sometimes takes the muscle a couple of tries to start to realize, oh, I can actually let go here. And you're lifting just to the point where you start to feel some resistance and stretch. Release. And then we'll do a nice, easy stretch from here of the adductors as well. And to do that, we're simply going to keep everything the same and just rock forward, taking his hip into internal rotation, using the leg as a fulcrum. And then external rotation. Do that a couple of times, holding right at the end. And again, you don't want to take this to the point where it's causing pain for the person you're working on. It should feel like a nice stretch. They should be able to relax into it. And what you feel as the practitioner is you kind of hit a spongy, almost elastic barrier where, yeah, you probably could push further, but it doesn't feel right to do that. Just hold it for a couple of breaths and release. And then I like to do one more piriformis stretch. So again, pull the leg out towards the foot and then just rock. And you notice his knee is coming higher up off the ground as that muscle starts to release, which is exactly what we're looking for. And then let everything back slowly. And then you can see how your work was, because if you really get the psoas to stretch, most of the time the QL will be a bit softer. Sometimes it's profoundly softer. And a lot of times you'll also see a difference in the piriformis, which in this case I definitely do. So one more piece here. You want to make sure you do this on both sides or your person is going to be horribly uneven. And I am going to turn off the recording before I do that because all you're going to see is my back. And I hope it's helpful for you and gives you a good way of stretching the psoas for your people.